Hey, wait a minute, Sleep, didn't you make a video on this? Yes. Does it look like I give a fuck? Fun fact, the very first video I made on this channel was about the XM4. I initially started this channel as a bit of a one-off. I woke up one day and thought to myself, hey, I've been doing scriptwriting and voiceovers for Stats on Duty aka Path.exe for a while now, and I recently learned how to edit videos too. So since I have the skills for it, why don't I try making my own videos? Surprisingly enough, it actually got some views. Not a lot, but it was a pleasant surprise for a first video. Obviously thanks to the generous promotion from the Stats on Duty team. It was at that point where I decided, okay, I guess I gotta do more of these. And that right there is the lore behind this channel. So if you ask me today, what is your favorite weapon? One of my top picks will be the XM4. Not only because the weapon is good, but also because it pretty much laid the foundation of what my channel's content would be. Now unfortunately, this video kinda sucks. The voiceover quality was fucking terrible, there was basically no audio processing, you can straight hear me breathing like I was doing ASMR, I was using DaVinci Resolve's default font, and the video is half the length compared to what you see today. It is quite safe to say that I've definitely gotten better at this whole yapping on the internet thing. Now the reason I'm doing a Disney remake that no one asked for is because the XM4 just so happened to catch a nerf this season. And naturally, there are some who are wondering if the weapon is still meta, or if there are better alternatives now. So with that personal record of an intro segment out of the way, allow me to answer the question, did they kill the XM4? But before we get into that, we should talk about what changed with the XM4. The XM4 caught two nerfs this season. First, its base hit flinch has gone up from 0.6 to a very high 0.9. This is actually higher than quite a few SMGs, and for a flex weapon, this is pretty much unacceptable. This means that without any flinch reducing attachments, you will have a very hard time staying on target against anyone who shoots back, especially since most of the meta weapons these days have boosted bullet impact values. And this leads to the second nerf. The Serpent Wrap's hit flinch reduction has gone down from 50% to 15%. So if you're using this attachment, your hit flinch will now be 0.76, which is not unusable, but it is still pretty bad for an assault rifle. This means that if you want to have low hit flinch, you'll have to switch to the Field Wrap, but you don't get that ADS time reduction. Editing Sleep here, it is at this point where I realized that my dumbass has been calling this attachment the Field Wrap, when it is supposed to be the Field Tape. And you'll be hearing me say Field Wrap throughout the entire video. So before anyone tells me that I've been saying it wrong, shut up. I know. So basically you can't have fast handling and low hit flinch at the same time anymore. This also has the added effect of forcing some players to drop the 45 round fastback, as the ADS time will be way too slow without the Serpent Wrap, indirectly nerfing its reload time too. Some of you might say,
just restuff this,
but having to sacrifice your survivability in the form of Quick Fix or Vulture is a massive disadvantage against someone who doesn't have to use it. I shall be comparing the XM4 to the Type 19 since it is statistically similar, and also because there are a good number of people debating if this gun is now the better option. I'm looking at you, KifNZ, I know you watch my videos. Starting off with the lethality, both weapons have an identical 4-tap time to kill of 240 milliseconds. This is because they share the exact same fire rate and shots to kill. This is not exceptionally fast for the current meta, but it is still quite competitive. Both weapons have the potential to 3-tap in the initial damage phase if you can land a single headshot, granting an insanely fast time to kill of 160 milliseconds, which outguns pretty much every meta flex weapon, excluding 2-taps. The Type 19 does have a slightly longer 4-tap range than the XM4. This stat right here is what people would normally use as proof that the Type 19 is better than the XM4. But the XM4 has a trick up its sleeve that more than compensates for this: the damage multipliers. The Type 19 requires 2 shots to the upper body to 4-tap, which includes the chest and arms. The XM4 on the other hand just requires 2 shots above the legs. Having access to the stomach multiplier is a huge deal, since it is one of the easiest spots to hit, making it much more consistent. It is also worth mentioning that the XM4 has a longer guaranteed 4-tap range than the Type 19. So despite the Type 19 having a longer potential 4-tap range, you'll realistically be ending up with a lot more 4-taps with the XM4. When it comes to accuracy, the XM4 also has a pretty clear advantage. The XM4's BSA is slightly better, although this won't make a real difference in most cases. The real meat and arguably one of the best parts of the XM4 is its recoil. The Type 19's kick is fairly low, with a pattern that starts off straight vertical for the first 5 shots, before leaning to the left until the last 15 shots which go back to being straight vertical. This is good, but is blown out of the water by the XM4. The magnitude is a bit higher with the XM4, but there is basically no horizontal recoil until the last 10 shots, which have a slight lean to the right, making it one of the very few instances where controlling it is quite literally just pulled down. This means that while you have to pull down a bit more, the XM4 is going to be way more precise than the Type 19 and allows it to effortlessly challenge head glitches. And if you use a fuel wrap, which you should after the nerfs, the XM4 has the least hit flinch in the game, having a value of 0.09. This means that holding this gun out basically turns you into a bigger badass than John Wick, as you can take shots from any weapon, as long as it doesn't kill you, and still be on target. This combined with the recoil makes the XM4 arguably one of the most accurate guns in the game. One advantage that the Type 19 has though is the mobility. The XM4 has to make a choice between the Bruiser grip for fast sprint speed or the Raider pad for fast strafe speed. As the law of equivalent exchange states,
to obtain something of equal value must be given.
No matter which one you choose, the other stat will end up quite slow. The Type 19 doesn't have to worry about such decision making as it has the slots to use both attachments, meaning that it can have a fast sprint speed and strafe speed at the same time. ADS time is very similar across both weapons, assuming you're now using the field wrap on the XM4, but the Type 19 does have significantly better hipfire accuracy, especially if you're using the stock on the XM4. This means that while the XM4 needs to be fully ADS to land shots even in closer ranges, the Type 19 can get away with firing mid-ADS and have noticeably better odds. Both weapons have a very similar magazine capacity, with the Type 19 only having 2 less shots than the XM4, which doesn't really matter. Although the Type 19 does reload a bit faster than the XM4, so your downtime is slightly shorter. Now, very interestingly, the XM4 does come with 2 extra mags in reserve. Most assault rifles come with 4, the XM4 has 6. This is a fairly minor upside, but one that can be quite useful if you're going on longer streaks. So after looking at all of its stats, this brings up 2 different questions. The first one being, is the Type 19 better than the XM4 after the nerfs? Well, let's look at what advantages one has over the other. The XM4 has much better 4-tap consistency as it features a more generous hitbox covering the stomach and a longer guaranteed 4-tap range. It is also much more reliable at longer ranges thanks to its extremely precise recoil, being almost perfectly vertical, and non-existent hit flinch. Meanwhile, the Type 19 has a slightly longer potential 4-tap range and can be built to have a fast sprint speed and ADS movement speed at the same time. It also has a tighter hipfire spread and a slightly faster reload speed. As you can see here, the benefits of the XM4 are much more useful than the Type 19's. Lethality and accuracy generally matter a lot more compared to mobility and handling, as they directly affect your ability to secure kills, in which case the XM4 easily beats the Type 19. The Type 19's range advantage is not enough to make up for the sheer time to kill consistency of the XM4, and the XM4 being one of the most accurate ARs in the game means that you'll have a much easier time landing shots at range. So with this in mind, the XM4 is still a much better option than the Type 19. The only thing that the nerf did was make it so that both guns have about the same ADS time, which isn't enough to give the Type 19 the edge. This is not to say that the Type 19 is bad, it is still a very good all-rounder that is very easy to use. It's just that there is not much reason to use it over the XM4. And now we move on to the second question. Is the XM4 still meta? Oh absolutely, the XM4 still retains its top tier accuracy due to its straight, vertical recoil and non-existent hit flinch, along with its consistent 4-tap time to kill and 3-shot headshot potential. All of these combined means that it is still one of the most reliable and consistent weapons in the game. What the nerf did here was force you to drop the Serpent Wrap for the Field Wrap, sacrificing your ADS time just so you don't get uppercut for every shot. But here's the thing, the main upside of the XM4 was never its handling. This new ADS time is not that much different from the fast mag build, which is quite popular. So most of you won't really have that many issues with the ADS time, unless you're the ones using it, in which case you will have to drop the fast mag since the ADS time would be way too slow without the Serpent Wrap. So overall, the nerf isn't actually that bad, but the reason I, and likely a good majority of the playbase, aren't super happy about this nerf is the fact that this weapon got nerfed specifically. The XM4 is the tamest out of all the meta weapons. They did not touch the USS-9, the Odin, the SO-14 or even the VMP, which are way more problematic in comparison. The SO-14 makes sense, because it just came out last season, but not the others, so why not nerf them? Some say that it was mainly targeted towards comp, but that doesn't make sense since the VMP, the only SMG that saw use, was untouched. And solely focusing on the part of the game that most of the playbase is not involved in is really dumb. I think I have the actual answer. The weapon coming next season is the Lachmann 556. Looking at how it performs in Modern Warfare 2, this is a weapon that follows a similar design principle as the XM4 and its predecessors, that being a jack-of-all-trades assault rifle with low recoil, decent time to kill and competitive mobility. And to no one's surprise, this is the next mythic weapon. So on top of being power crept by this new kid on the block, the XM4 also got nerfed to ensure that it stays buried.
Good, that's one less loose end.
They've done this with the Grau and Type 19 in the past, so it seems that now it is the XM4's turn. When it comes to building the XM4, it is pretty much the same as before, just with a few minor changes. Start with the 13.5-inch Task Force barrel. This is the mandatory attachment as it gives a sizable improvement to its damage range, and most importantly, grants us the consistent 4-tap. Agency suppressor for concealment and recoil reduction, field wrap for the lowest possible hit flinch, Stanek 50 round for an increased magazine capacity, and your choice of either the Bruiser grip or Raider pad, depending on if you want a faster sprint speed or faster strafe speed. If you don't like the iron sights, you can use an optic of preference instead for better visibility. You can even use the regular foregrip to make that recoil extra low. If you really don't mind a higher hit flinch, you can still use the Serpent Wrap, which will make your ADS time very fast. And yes, if you're using this grip, you can use the Salvo 45 round fast mag since your ADS time is still manageable. And that covers everything there is to know about the XM4. Even after the nerf, this is still one of the most reliable weapons in the game, although I don't expect that to last very long with the introduction of the Lachmann 556. At least it won't be that bad, maybe they'll nerf the other problematic weapons next year. Oh fuck. But that's just my experience from using the weapon, so what do you guys think about the XM4? Do you agree that it is still a meta pick, or do you think that it has already been power crept? Be sure to let me know in the comments, and if you found the video helpful, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe. But until then, I'll be seeing you in the next one. Bye bye.